first
Amendment.
well, first 10 amendments to the Constitution, right? Well, we're going to break it down a little bit today. We're just going to talk about the First Amendment. I think it's imperative. It's really important to talk about this because if you don't know your rights, you don't know what rights you have. The first 10 amendments are guaranteed individual rights and liberties to every American. And sometimes it's a little shocking how little people know about it. So, I want to break it down today. Like I said, we're going to be talking about what's guaranteed in the First Amendment, and it's kind of a big one. Now, here it says, Kathy, can you read for us, please?
Sure. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
Okay. Now, off the top of your head, you know how many rights are listed there?
Can I count?
1.
Religion, freedom of speech, press, right of assembly, and right to redress. So that was 5.
5. Okay, and you're really close. You're really close. And here's how you can remember exactly what they are. 5 individual rights. I call it SPEAR.
Oh.
Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of expression, freedom to peaceably assemble, and finally, freedom of religion. And I put the picture of the spear in because it kind of, to me, looks a little bit like a 1. So, First Amendment, 5, right? So there we go. So just remember, spear. Right, first we're going to talk about freedom of speech. And freedom of speech is the right guaranteed by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to express beliefs and ideas without unwarranted government restriction. Okay, that's a fancy way of saying the government can't tell you what you can or cannot say. Freedom of speech, we use it every day. If I go onto Facebook and I say that I can't stand Kim Kardashian, can the government come and tell me I can't do that?
No.
No, absolutely not. I'm allowed, if I want to spend an entire day talking about how evil I think Kim Kardashian is, I'm well within my rights. I'm absolutely allowed. What if the government passes a law that I don't like? Can I go on Facebook and talk about it?
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can anyone think of a law right now that you may be seeing some things about in the press? I'll give you a hint. They're talking about a possible government shutdown.
The sequestration?
Close. It's going to be probably considered the crown and jewel of our current president's administration.
Snowden stuff?
The Affordable Care Act.
Oh.
The Affordable
Yeah,
Care
we've
Act.
gotten there eventually.
That's okay. No, that's okay. I mean, it's hard to keep up with everything, but Republicans are so angry, they're so incensed, they're threatening to try to shut down the government. Are they allowed to say that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Freedom of speech. They're allowed to do it. Where do you think there might be a limit on freedom of speech?
Well, if it's national security, harmful. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It causes harm.
Famous Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, his nickname is the modern father of the First Amendment because he established what we've probably all heard, right? You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Public safety threat, right? So I can blog all day long about how much I love Kim Kardashian. I cannot run into a movie theater to see Smurfs 2 and yell fire because I've got 3 kids with me and want a better seat up front. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So sometimes it is restricted, and also if you are walking onto a plane, never ever make jokes about having a gun, a knife, or a bomb.
Yeah.
I'm just, any kind of weapons or anything else, because guess what? You're not going to make your flight. That's going to be perceived as an imminent threat to public safety. All right, any questions about freedom of speech? Freedom of the press. This is a big one. Now, I will admit that when I stand in the supermarket checkout line, Miss Mellon just loves to scan the headlines of the tabloids. Now, I won't buy the tabloid, but I am all about reading those headlines. Half the time, are they even close to true?
No.
Heck no! What do we have here? One of the dadgum Kardashians, right? This is new. You can tell. Got something about the royal baby on here, but it says Courtney, yes, I'm pregnant, exclusive. Do you really think Courtney sat down with OK Magazine and confirmed her pregnancy to them?
Probably not.
Probably not. Do we even know if she's pregnant? No.
Let's hope not.
Exactly. Let's hope not, right? Last thing we need, another Kardashian. Anyhow, I'll get off that soapbox. But as we're looking at this, and poor Jennifer Aniston, we just cannot give that girl a break, can we? Every week, that poor thing is on one tabloid or another. I'll bet she gets really tired, and I'll bet 99.99% of the things written about her are lies. Technically, could she sue these magazines?
Yes.
Heck yeah! Heck yeah! But, in all honesty, in her world, it's probably better to kind of ignore it and hope it goes away, right? But, technically, what they're committing is called libel. Printed slander against somebody. I can, and you know, if they're printing malicious lies, that is not protected. Another thing not protected, let's say I'm on Facebook and I'm tired of talking about Kim Kardashian, and I start talking about planning to take over the government myself. Can the government stop me?
Yes.
Yeah, why, Maggie?
Harmful.
Harmful. Threat, right? That's what's called sedition. Planning an overthrow of the government, and we haven't gotten to it yet. When we talk about John Adams' presidency, we'll talk about the Alien and Sedition Acts. They were enacted during his presidency, and that was something that took place between kind of a skirmish we had with France. But then, speech, even though we had the First Amendment, it was kind of suspended, if you will, at that time because we felt that there was such a threat. Fortunately, we aren't quite as paranoid about it today. I mean, you can still make comments here and there as long as you're not directly threatening anybody. Okay, any questions? So, freedom of press. Freedom of expressions. This is, tell you about one of my favorite court cases. It's called Tinker versus Des Moines. What happened, this was in 1969. 3 students showed up for school, and we'd probably use, not to be derogatory, but one might use the term hippies to describe them. And I know hippies, you know, you kind of think of like the flower children during the Vietnam War. They were about peace. They opposed the war. They were school-age kids. They showed up. All they did, they wore black armbands to protest the war. They did nothing in their schools to disrupt the educational process that took place. It was all simply that they were wearing these black armbands. Well, the school board kind of freaked out. They were suspended from school. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court. And before we go on, any predictions? How do you think they ruled? Jenny, what do you think?
They said the kids can wear their own bands.
Okay.
I agree. I think they were, they're not acting on it. They're just, it's a visual.
Y'all got that right. The Supreme Court upheld and said, you know, that just because you're entering a public domain like that, your freedom is not suspended because they were not being disruptive. They were allowed to do so. Do you think that would still fly today?
No.
No. Because I know my son wore a necklace that had a balloon on it, and he got in trouble for that. He wasn't doing anything with it or threatening anything.
Right, but because, and it was,
And it's a different time period, there's a lot more threat
Can't wear.
there's a lot more threat to our
well, and
environment than there used to be.
And what's interesting about this case, Kathy, the school did allow, at the time the school did allow the students to wear Nazi symbols. So you have these
But
students,
they couldn't wear a peace sign.
right, and you see the peace sign, those are 2 of the Tinkers, those are the peace signs that they were wearing they were told they couldn't wear them. A little irony there, huh? Don't you
That's
think?
crazy.
And I agree with both of y'all, and the reason I asked is when I took constitutional law and this case came up, the professor asked, and I was one of the few that said I didn't think that it would fly today, that I didn't think that that would be allowed. Another interesting thing, just kind of an aside, this was 1969 with Chief Burger, one of the most liberal Supreme Court justices in history. The Burger Court, widely recognized as kind of being the most liberal courts in history. Had it been 1968, who knows how they would have voted. So a lot of times timing is everything, and this is how the court interpreted it. What do you think? Do you think it's a good law? Do you think they made the right decision?
Yeah.
I do.
There are gonna be some times when I don't agree with it, personally, but that's not, it's my decision to decide.
Okay, very good. Oh, sorry about that. I am sorry. I am doing this upside down. We'll get it right back around. Okay, freedom of expression. Freedom of assembly. Now this is the right to peaceably assemble. As you can see, what do we have going on here?
That's peace.
Oh, it's okay.
Gay rights.
Gay pride parade, yeah. But are they
They're just holding up flags and going to banner.
right? And if any one of us drove by the White House right now, what's one thing we'd probably see in front?
We would see people with banners and posters.
Well, they've got planted an actual, area for, Tea Party stuff.
Yeah, last time I was down
It's
there.
still
from the
there, it's been
Capitol.
there for a year.
But the rule, as long as they're peaceful.
They were loud, but they were peaceful.
Yeah, they're making their voice heard, right? But as long as they're being peaceful.
Yeah.
Aside from marching or protesting, what's another example you might think of? Perhaps related to work. Unions.
Yeah, I grew up in
Right? Yeah.
Walkouts, well, I guess, and recently there were the fast food workers who were walking out over the not affordable pay. So you can't live on the minimum wage.
The minimum wage, exactly. But again, as long as it's
Yeah.
peaceful. So, right, to peaceably assemble, right? Can this count for things that most of us would find morally reprehensible?
Yeah, again.
Things that may absolutely be things we just find terrible? Can anyone think of an example?
Well, where I grew up, there was the Grand Dragon of the KKK lived like 20 miles away, and so they were peaceably assembling and marching on the state capitol. Not anything we wanted to see, but they were peaceful and they were expressing themselves, so it was allowed to continue.
And sometimes and I think the majority of the American people are going to find just that to be absolutely wrong, we still have to protect those rights because we can't say to the Klan, well, you can't march. Oh, but you're doing gay pride, it's fine for you. So sometimes, it has to be equal for everybody. And as much as we may hate their message, as reprehensible and as terrible it is, sometimes you kind of gotta cowboy up a little bit, right? But the rights are there to protect everybody. And finally, freedom of religion. This is the right to choose a religion or no religion without interference by the government. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, that makes sense because when we were ruled by England, they had the Church of England, and so they probably wanted to make sure that we didn't have a state-sponsored religion. That's partially true, but also, remember, colonies founded, right? We talked about this. Remember all the different religions we had coming in, right? We had Quakers, we had Puritans, we had Catholics. Did they get along all the time? Heavens no.